It's the 12th of August, and this is your News Bite brought to you by eNCA.com. I'm Marcel Gordon, and in your news today, the police's special task team in the spotlight at the Madlanga Commission, City Power overwhelmed by 6,000 logged calls, and Sundowns grab a Last-Gasp win at Mbombela. The Madlanga Commission is shifting its focus to alleged hit squads in KZN. Members of the SAPS there are accused of extrajudicial killings under the guise of a task team. It's alleged officers targeted cash-in-transit robbery suspects, taxi operators, and drug syndicates. On Wednesday, we heard from Len John. Now, he is the Deputy Director of the KZN arm of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. He painted the picture of a type of modus operandi task teams would use.
The suspects that are killed, there is no linkage that they are the ones involved in cash in transit.
Thank you. I hear you on the modus operandi. My issue, and you've responded, so I'm not asking for any further response. My issue just related to the point you were making about the dockets. Okay. The information or lack of it in the dockets. You've already responded, and I'll leave it there.
And Commissioner, the other aspect is that the dockets are closed almost immediately. Once a person is killed, the docket gets closed, the cash in transit docket, because they link that deceased as a suspect in the docket without any other investigation. Not looking at the firearms that they used, whether those firearms are linked at the cash in transit, or maybe placing their cell phone at the scene of the cash in transit. That docket is immediately closed. So there's no further investigation done on that cash in transit docket that has been opened.
But that's strange. Who closes the docket?
The station. Even the task team themselves. They write the name of the deceased on the docket, and the docket is closed.
John has told the Commission that IPID has investigated over 300 cases involving members of the task team from April 2023 through to May of 2026.
With investigations, it shows that some of if we say 3 firearms are used and there were 9 people, then 6 of them were unarmed. And when you do the scene, when you investigated the scene, you would look at the 6 of them were in different places in the house.
But if you come under fire from where you are, and if you are not in the house yourself when you are shot at, you can't tell whether there are 9 people in there and there are only 3 firearms. So still, I'm not sure that you're answering my question.
I understand what the Commissioner is saying, but with the pattern that follows, in fact, in majority of our cases, there are fewer firearms found compared to the shooting, compared to the number of deceased that were on the scene. And in some of our cases, in fact, there is cases that are before the DPP's office for decision where we can prove that the deceased did not shoot at the police.
The trial against a Soweto church leader accused of raping a 12-year-old girl is heading to the High Court in Joburg. 58-year-old Tsepo Ntsimane appeared briefly before the Ridderpoort Magistrates Court this morning. He'll remain in custody and is expected back in court next week. The family of the girl says while they're happy that the case is finally moving forward, there's still a hard road ahead. Here's Ntabising Phiri.
I ke nako ya gore go ye ko dimo ya no. Go ne re re tsamaya tsela e. Ke itumetse too much, like I'm very happy that step se se fitlhile mo teng mo le gore trial re batla mo le gore e ya ko teng. Ne ntse re tshepetse gore e tla ya ko High Court. Ra bona gore taba e ga ba tsaya bikinyana ke taba gore e se ko dimo. Ke bitumela ba rona bo. It's never easy every time. It will never be easy anyway because of this person. We grew up in front of him. So just to see him and knowing that the deed that he did, it's never easy. It's heartbreaking every time. The child will never be okay. Even now, it's not okay. And then especially heartbreaking gore this person o ya court. it's like what tlhakatlhakana ga di shapo ga right ngwana mo le mo teng.
City Power has admitted that its failure to pay contractors is hampering its ability to restore electricity. Thousands of households are without power as cold, wet conditions hit Joburg this week. City Power's Isaac Mangena says the number of calls logged to the utilities call centre doubled overnight, with the tally at just over 6,000 on Wednesday morning. He explains that they're also struggling with a shortage of parts.
The issue around non-payment of contractors also still with us currently and has actually taken a toll because we are not able to respond as fast as we should because of some of those outstanding payments that we were supposed to have made to some of these contractors, but also even our stocks, the material stocks, reserves are depleting faster than we can replenish them. And I think that is where we're basically seeing the problem. But we are engaging the shareholder, which is the city, where the monies are, so that we can then be able to invest and be able to respond efficiently to some of these calls that I've mentioned. And we're hoping that by today and tomorrow, we should basically start to move that needle a little so that we can then be able to restore power to those that are affected.
Charges are stacking up against 23-year-old Regan Collis, who is accused of killing 4 people, including 2 cops in Reiger Park. Collis made his first appearance in the Boksburg Magistrates Court, with the case postponed until the 25th of August for bail application, which the state plans to oppose. Collis now faces 9 charges. Here's Hawk spokesperson Katlego Mogale.
Preliminary investigation has revealed that we have enough evidence to put in more charges. As you've heard, it is 4 now. It's 4 murder charges plus 1 attempted murder, as well as 2 robbery with aggravating assault, as well as possession of an unlicensed firearms. We have a case that we need to present next week when he is applying for bail, and we will be opposing that bail. We do believe that he was not alone in doing this heinous deed, so we are not ruling out the possibility of other suspects being arrested as well as additional charges as the investigation unfolds.
SAFTU's Welenzima Vavi says government needs to listen to workers and the poor and not just to big business. He's responding to the latest unemployment figures, which made for depressing reading, with the number continuing on an upward trajectory to 33.6%. Nearly 350,000 more workers are now jobless.
The first thing that we will wish that government does is to listen to the people that do not sit with it in the cushy, air-conditioned, posh offices when it meets capital. Government must listen to workers, to working class communities, to the poorest of the poor trapped in degrading poverty, unemployment, in particular from the rural areas, former Bantustans. If government could listen to that constituency, hopefully it can change its mind. Currently, government only listen to the big capital in South Africa, not even to small macro enterprises, to big capital, to the owners of the economy. Then government listens only to the rating agencies, to the guys driving the Washington consensus, the IMF and the World Bank. So that's our first wish.
Meanwhile, data is showing that the country's farming sector continues to show a strong level of employment. Stats SA's figures show the sector employed more than 900,000 people in the 3 months until June. That's down by about 2% from the previous quarter, but it's up by more than 4% compared with the same time last year. Let's listen to Wandile Sihlobo. He's the chief economist of the Agricultural Business Chamber of South Africa.
We worry a bit about is going into next year, because although now we are sitting with jobs in the second quarter of about 944,000 jobs in the farming sector, I think that for much of the year, they will remain at fairly these robust levels. But going into next year, there are expectations of an El Nino drought, and that may lower the agricultural activity, and that may result in certain job losses in the sector. It's also an environment of higher input costs. higher fertilizer and fuel prices that are adding pressure. And even on those that are irrigating, like fruits, all of our fruits and vegetables are under irrigation, 20% of our food crops are under irrigation, but there's generally higher electricity prices. So there's a combination of that environment of potentially higher input costs that will constrain activity to a certain extent in the farming sector going into next year. But if you put that aside for a moment and you look in the near-term issues, I think we can all agree that so far it's been broadly an excellent year for various subsectors in agriculture, and the jobs figures that we received from Statistics South Africa today mirror exactly that optimism.
The assassination of anti-apartheid activist Dulcie September was in the spotlight at the TRC Cases Inquiry on Wednesday. Now, she was the ANC chief representative in France and was shot in the head outside her Paris office in March of 1988. It's believed that she was targeted because she was investigating secret arms deals which were bypassing international sanctions against apartheid South Africa at the time. Now her family has called on the TRC Cases Inquiry to investigate why the probe into her killing was abruptly stopped. The international investigator for the TRC had testified before that an investigator, Wilson Magadla, stopped the process after receiving a phone call. Here's evidence leader Jeff Budlander at the inquiry today.
In 1997, he went with Mr. Schelberg to Paris, where he attended interviews. He played no role in those interviews except that he closed them down at a certain point. And we suggest that this raises a host of questions which the Commission should investigate. The family of the late Ms. September are particularly anxious to know who instructed that the TRC investigation into the death of Ms. September should be stopped by the TRC. Secondly, why was that instruction given? And thirdly, what happened to the police file? Where is the French police file? The family are understandably concerned about this, and they've specifically asked me to raise this matter with the Commission.
In other news we're keeping an eye on, at least 44 people died when a ferry sank on Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba on Tuesday. Zimbabwe police released the updated death toll as a civil protection unit continued to search for those missing. The ferry's capacity was reportedly 90 people, but it was carrying 114 adults, 5 crew members, and some children. Over 70 people have been rescued. And South Africa's electronic travel authorization is officially being launched today. President Cyril Ramaphosa unveiling the system at OR Tambo International. It was piloted during South Africa's G20 presidency as part of government's digital immigration reforms. Now, government believes it will modernize immigration and strengthen border security. And on to the world of sports, the All Blacks pulled off an impressive 54-0 win over young Shark side in Durban on Tuesday night. But it was the cultural exchange of respect at the start of the game that grabbed all the headlines. After the All Blacks delivered their traditional Haka, All Blacks great and now Sharks player and mentor Nonu replied with an emotional solo Haka. Here's All Blacks coach Dave Rennie.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. He caught up with Tana and Tamani last night, and they had a conversation around it because he wanted to be respectful, and so he was sort of querying, what's the best way to respond to that, and so they encouraged him that, if he felt it was right to do the Haka, and so I think, I thought it was excellent. So, we'll definitely catch up with him tonight.
Well, the visitors went on to score 8 tries in wet Durban conditions. Sharks coach JP Peterson praised his side's fighting spirit.
Look at the scoreboard, it's not nice to see, but the boys fight from minute 1 to minute 80, and it's good to see in the change room and after the game how the young experienced Oaks like Liam, Rambo and them interact with the props opposite them and just talk about your occasion. They said they never could have imagined something like that, play the All Blacks in Kings Park and then obviously facing the Haka, and then next thing you see Nonu is also doing the Haka, the opposite of showing up respect. We're in pre-season, 6 weeks in pre-season, and we know 14-0 at halftime. It's going to be a difficult ask, second half, to stay with them. It's a team that's, they got cohesion and they play with confidence, and they showed in the second half.
On to football, and substitute Sphelele Mkhulise handed Mamelodi Sundowns a last-gasp 3-2 win over TS Galaxy at Mbombela Stadium. Here's Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso and his TS Galaxy counterpart Bernard Parker.
Obviously that it was important to bring energy also from the bench. It was clear during the second half that the team fell regarding capacity to compete with an opponent that was fresher than ourselves. But character and belief until the end. Sometimes the reward appears, others the reward doesn't appear. I think that today obviously it came late, but it came on time. But speaks for. I think he's absolutely deserved the victory, and nothing much more to say.
I'm just happy with the boys, the way they conduct themselves. Just a little bit of lapse of concentration. I hope that we will learn from this because there's still a long season ahead, and for us to build on this in terms of the way we want to play and how we play.
And that's how we wrap today's News Bite. For developments in these and more, keep an eye on eNCA.com and DSTV channel 403.